Welcome, everybody, to this week's show, this week's edition of the Coach Ed Show. I'm just so excited for today. This is a friend I've got on the other side of the camera from me, and I'm just so excited to share his wisdom. Some words that I would describe him: humble, caring, disciplined, accountable, wise. If you were to look up character in the dictionary, they probably have his picture next to it. That's what I'm trying to say. And so I always like to introduce my guests with who they are before what they do. But he is a very accomplished men's basketball coach, Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame dad, Hall of Fame husband, and Hall of Fame coach. So I'm just so excited to welcome Coach Lennie Acuff to the Coach Ed Show. Coach, thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. When you asked me if I'd had a chance to do this, I'm like, there's no chance I wouldn't do it. And so how much I think of you. That's nice of you to say those kind words, but I'm like everybody. I'm very, very, very much still a work in progress. Even a little bit older age than most of the people you're dealing with, we're all still a work in progress. And I'm just honored to be on here and so thankful for you and the impact that you and Season Builder have had on my life.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, why don't you just kind of, for a lot of people know you, but for some that do not, that may be seeing you and hearing you for the first time, maybe tell me where you are in your career, where you're coaching, and kind of rewind that a little bit back to Huntsville, Alabama, a little bit of your coaching.
Sure. I'm the head basketball coach at Lipscomb University, which is a small liberal arts college, faith-based institution in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm about to start my 6th year. On Monday, we will start school. So it'll be 6 years here, going into year 6 at Lipscomb. And wow, been a lot of changes in the time I've been here. But just real quick, Huntsville, Alabama's home. I grew up there and it always will be home. Played college basketball at Shorter University in Rome, Georgia. And when I finished there, I was an assistant coach at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. And let's reference that as UAH going forward through this interview. All right, so I was at UAH for 2 years as an assistant. And then at 25 years old, I got my first head coaching job in college. I was head coach at Belhaven College in Jackson, Mississippi. And obviously that came with a lot of unique challenges and opportunities at 25 years old. And then I was there for 3 years, and I went to Berry College in Rome, Georgia for 4. I was the head coach there for 4 seasons, and then went back to the University of Alabama in Huntsville, which was home. I was there for 22 years. And so this is year 6 here. So when we get started next week, it will be year 35 as a head coach in college, my 37th. In basketball. A lot of miles on these tires, Taylor. A lot of miles. Yes.
A lot of water under the bridge. A lot of water under the bridge,
brother.
Yes, sir. Well, that's great. Thanks. So obviously you've seen a lot, you've experienced a lot, had a lot of highs and lows, and I just am so thankful for you to share some of that. First question that I have is about success. John Wooden, another Hall of Fame man and Hall of Fame coach, talked about the pyramid of success. But how do you define success? Like, what is success to Lennie Acuff?
Well, I think first off, you have to figure out what your identity is. You know, if you're getting your identity from your job, you're always going to be disappointed. If you get your identity from a sport you play, you're always going to be disappointed. You know, there's 3 places you can get your identity. You can get your identity from others, which is an absolute emotional roller coaster that'll never end in your favor. You can get your identity from yourself. And a lot of times, I think the way we look at ourselves, there's 2 ways. There's a lot of people are very, very hard on themselves, very critical of themselves. And some people are probably a little delusional and probably think more of themselves than is reality. But I think ultimately, I hope that I find my identity in Christ, that I am who God says I am. And that's really, really important to me. So I think you almost have to reverse engineer this thing. Like, okay, at the end of the day, what am I trying to do from an earthly perspective in a profession that my identity is not so wrapped up in winning and losing basketball games? But I think for me, just my total transparency, this definition of success is just having the ability to help and impact others. That would be, for me, if my time on earth, when it's done, I can look back and say, there was people's lives that I was able to help, hopefully make some type of impact, then I think I've been successful. College basketball starts November 4th, which is it's that 8-9 weeks away, whatever it is. And on that first night, there'll be 360 Division I schools that'll play, and Here's reality: is 180 of them are going to leave there very disappointed.
Yeah.
First night, that's it. That is going to happen. And so, if that is your identity, if that's really what you define as success, I mean, we're one night into college basketball season, and 50% of the coaches and players aren't successful in their eyes. And so it's just got to be a lot more than about winning, because at the end of the day, there's usually only one really, 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 truly satisfied team when the season's over, and it's the team that wins the national championship or a state championship. And those things are so hard to do. And so if that's going to be your definition of success, it's going to be really hard to achieve.
Yeah. What a great answer. Thank you so much for sharing that about identity, because I'm learning a lot about identity myself. I thought I understood what identity was. And even at 51 years old, I'm starting to understand just the layers of what it truly, truly means to have an identity in Christ. So that's awesome. Thank you. So to piggyback on that, okay, so if that is what you and I both would certainly promote as success, what kind of framework would you give a young coach to start out to make sure they start to pursue that path?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question, Taylor. If I'm looking at, I think ultimately we all leave footprints through our life, and you just want to leave. We want to make sure that yours are worth following.
Yeah.
That you want to leave an impact and leave footprints in everybody that you have the opportunity to lead and interact with. It's like, wow, because success leaves footprints.
Yes.
And what you want to do, if I'm a young guy, I'm like, first off, you have to understand it is hard. Winning is hard. Coaching in today's climate / society is very, very, very hard. And, I obviously have a lot of years of doing it, but I don't in any way have a hard time saying that it is much more difficult now than it's ever been. You're having to balance so many other things. So what I would say is, first off, you understand it's not going to be easy. Mm-hmm. The second thing is you need to make sure everyone around you is on board. Yeah. Starting with your family, or your wife, your significant other, are they with you? Because if they're not, it is going to be almost impossible, because it's a family business. You have a lot of people around you willing to make success. So, once everybody's in and you realize it's hard, everybody's in, then you have to start every single day. I feel like you want to have a long-term vision for where you want to go, but with short-term goals.
There we go.
You just have to have the ability to stay in the present, not to get far ahead of yourself. Don't get caught up in what other people that are saying about you or think about you. You just keep doing the next right thing. And also understanding that there needs to be, like for me, we've spent the last month trying to self-scout, just to go back and look at everything we're doing inside our program. Okay. And so how can we be better going into this year? Because there's so many things we don't need to be better at, we have to be better at. But just knowing it's a constant, lifelong journey. And if you're going to stay in this business, there's going to be a lot of highs and a lot of lows. It's just inevitable. So you need to be willing to play the long game. Mm-hmm. But also enjoy it along the way. There'll be times during the season that I'll see a friend of mine or someone I know, and they're having a really good year, and I'll text them and I'm like, make darn sure you enjoy this, because there's no guarantees it's coming. This train's coming through the station anytime soon again. Yeah. You better enjoy it, and you better not apologize for enjoying it.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of wisdom that you just shared right there. So there must have been some lessons along the way. What's maybe a hard lesson you learned that's really impacted your life?
Well, I think that you've heard me say this, I'm sure, the time we got to spend together in Huntsville, is the only mistakes you really make in life are the ones you don't learn from. Mm-hmm. Like that's really the only, because everyone is going to stumble, everyone's going to fall. But if you don't learn from it and have an opportunity to grow, take the opportunity, then you really are missing the blessing in it. Yeah. And I think the lessons I continue to learn is my greatest growth and development come through screwing things up. You become clever through your mistakes.
Yeah.
That's where you really learn. But you also have to give yourself permission to mess up. Yes. Like there's just going to be times you can't just, every single game cannot be the apocalypse. Every single outcome cannot be the end of the world, because you'll drive yourself crazy. Yeah. But I just think for me, understanding that at the end of the day, that every one of these kids is trying as hard as they can. Like I say it all the time, I want to meet the first person that's ever taken a shot in a basketball game and tried to miss it.
Right.
Don't be Captain Obvious here. Coach the things that are hard for them to understand. Everybody, I mean, I've heard guys say, "We got to make a free throw." Well, yes, you do. Or we got to quit missing layups. Well, yes, we do. Yes, we do. But nobody's trying to. What I think you could drill down to is cause and effect. Like, what are we doing that is causing us for these things to happen? And so, giving yourself permission to understand there's going to be difficult times, but your greatest growth is going to be in failure. I'm so much harder on myself after if we lose a game, there's just so much more urgency the next day in practice. And I hope I've grown through that, but I would overreact to losses is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I've learned when our guys are really struggling, that's when they need to be loved on. Now, there has to be an element of truth, but there's like so many things in our life. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
That's right.
And, how you approach failure, how you approach trying to keep your team moving in the right direction. The other thing that I think, and this is a big one for me, and I've struggled with this, is you can't make everyone happy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're in a position of authority. And with authority becomes difficult decisions, conversations that they're just not going to agree with you. You've heard me say that everybody's all excited about the season, and and the night everybody shows up for the first game. Say you have 12 kids on the team, and you go out there for the starting lineup for the jump ball. You've already got 7 parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. They already think you're a clown.
Yeah.
They don't think what you're doing. That's inevitable. And then after 1 or 2 possessions of you shooting and me not shooting, my parents really think you don't know what you're doing. Even though I'm playing, I'm not getting as many shots as I want.
Right.
So you're not going to make everyone happy, and you just need to understand that's just the cost of doing business. It's just you have to be able to deal with that the best you can. I do believe very strongly you should be sensitive to kids that are hurting and do everything you can to try to be as positive in your communication with them. But at the end of the day, there's just going to be people you're going to have to disappoint. That's part of being a leader. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for me.
So you and I have had many conversations in your office around that topic. And so to me, even hearing you say that answer, it goes into a question I was going to ask, what are you still growing in? But I want to back up. I want to stay on what you just said. And obviously you have grown immensely in that area. And I know that was difficult through those times. So because I think a lot of people do. I mean, I deal with it. I don't want to disappoint people. Like, I want everybody to like me. I'm that personality too. So what have you done, or what have you changed your mindset, or just maybe, and it may be a bunch of different things, but what's helped you grow through that to become more where that doesn't bother you as much?
Well, I'm still not even close. It still really bothers me. I used to say the hardest thing to do is coach kids you don't like. The hardest thing to do, because you're not going to like everybody the same. That's just reality. If you go to lunch with 5 different people next week, Monday through Friday, there's just going to be some of them you enjoy more because you have more in common and you connect with them.
Yeah.
But that you're not going to like everyone you coach as much. I mean, you can care about them. It's just you may not connect with them as much. The hardest thing to me is becoming disappointing people that I really, really like and care about. That's really tough. And I'm still working on it. But I do think self-talk, having a mindset before you go into games or meetings to understand this is just necessary. As painful as it is, it's just necessary. The first coach I ever worked for, he had so much wisdom, and he told me, he said, there are so many ways to be successful in this business. There's a million different ways to do it. He said, but I guarantee you 100% surefire way, quickest way to fail is try to make everybody happy. You're just not going to do it. And so being able to just go into every game or tough decision conversation, knowing this is what I signed up for. And ultimately, I have a responsibility to everyone in the organization. Like for me, I answer to our president, our board of directors, and our athletic director. Yeah. And then ultimately probably the fans and boosters. And so my charge is to win basketball games while being consistent with the mission of the school. That's my charge. And if I want to keep that the main thing, keeping the main thing, I just need to know, first off, I'm not going to compromise what the school stands for to try to win.
That's right.
I'm not. But I also have a job to do, and they pay me to try to win basketball games and advance our basketball program. And at this level, Division I basketball, as you advance your basketball program, it advances the institution. You have more visibility, you have more eyeballs on you. And so I just have to understand that you're part of something greater than yourself.
Amen. Yeah. And it does tie back to identity, right? You got to know who you are walking into that, integrity, humility, all those things go into what you just said. Again, goes back to character. Who you are has such an impact on those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit now about then and now, young men and women then versus young men and women now. There was obviously an approach many, many years ago. Your mom and dad, my mom and dad, how they tried to instill values and character in us. And that was a time. And now we're in a different time. And there's pros and cons to everything. But what approach do you believe, just with all the water under the bridge, the wear on the tires, as leaders, you and I both, and all the leaders listening, what approach do we need to take, or can we take, to help grow values and character in this current generation? I like to call them the now generation, not the next generation. They're the now generation.
Yeah. I don't think that as much has changed early in kids' athletic career. I think as they get to as you went through with your sons and I did with my children, I think what's really changed things so much, I guess where I'd rather go, is travel ball. It is the amount of time, energy, effort, resources that has gone in, money that has gone into kids just so they can play sports.
Yeah.
Well, with that becomes unbelievable emotion.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people, and I was probably a part of that at one time, that you're sitting there and you're going, I'm not sure we should be doing this from a financial standpoint. Well, that comes with stress. And then what happens is, if you are a professional coach and you coach for a living, once you get those kids on your team, there is so much emotional and financial equity these parents have with travel ball, baseball, basketball, soccer, whatever it is. It's really hard for them to not see their son have the kind of success or opportunities they think they should.
Yeah.
And I think with that has created a whole different mindset when you get kids now. And that there's very few kids / parents, and I do think the parents impacted a lot more than they probably realize, right, that are okay with their kid working while they wait. That, it doesn't have to happen right now. How about not yet?
Right.
Let's keep working. Let's keep working. Let's keep doing the next right thing. And, in life, if you want to achieve some things tomorrow, there's some things you got to do without today. You have to eliminate it. Like the fact that you think instant gratification is the way to go, it's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. You have to be willing to go through the process. That's what was so amazing about the Olympics. And a lot of people can be critical of all that. But when you kind of cut through all of it, just think about 4 years of every single day training and coming down to 15 seconds. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, it's just there's no way to it but through it. Like, you just have to have the ability to understand it's not going to be easy, but trying to get kids to buy into that and to understand, like, I promise you I have your best interests at heart. And learning how to enjoy the journey and just enjoy growth, and knowing that I just got to keep the faith, and in my time I'm going to be ready. And when I get my opportunity, I want to make sure that I'm prepared. But so I think, in terms of instilling values, I think I tell our guys all the time, we got to have a standard above our feelings.
Yes.
We just have to have a standard, because if you only go to work or you only work out on the days you feel like doing it, you're never going to have a job, or you're never going to make a team.
Yeah.
There's just some days you don't feel like doing it. And you just have to have a standard that I hold myself to, that I can separate and put above how I feel. Because your feelings will lead you into a bad, bad, bad place if you'll let them. But if you know what your standard is and you're willing to embrace that, I do think the opportunity for growth is there. And I don't know if that really answers your question. I just think the biggest thing, you got to know that these kids today, it's just, and honestly, it's not their fault. It's just the way travel sports has become such a financial bonanza for people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people paying out, and there's a few people that are really taking it in. And it's really made it difficult for kids and parents to keep perspective. And so we're all in this fight for maturity. How can you help them mature? I think is a big part of your job as a coach.
Yeah, what I heard you describe a lot, and this is what I try to do, again, us leaders trying to build values, is helping them identify the distractions, helping them identify the things that are pulling them away from the values that'll make them successful. Emotions. Yeah. And we're going to go into this. This is the next thing I want to talk about, because one of the things you used to say, play with emotion, just not emotional. I think I quoted that right, but I think that I used to hear you say that all the time, and it's really helping them to identify almost the things that are tearing down discipline, or tearing down accountability, or tearing down respect. Help them identify the things that are eroding those. So maybe if we help them deal with those distractions, or deal with those negative behaviors or emotional things, that what we would believe, or I know both about you and I believe that, we're all created in the image of God. There's this greatness that's there, but there's this enemy of greatness that's trying to pull us apart. And those are all the distractions that we have. And so,
yeah, I think that's a really good point too. And Taylor, I think, okay, on the front end, knowing what are my core values. Like within our basketball program, we talk about it every day. There's selfless, thankful, humble, driven, committed, and responsible. Those 6 things, like that's got to be at the core of who we are as a team. You have to decide what your core values are as a person. Like, this is what I believe, and this is what I feel like gives me the best chance to be the best version of me I can be. And everything else, you got to put on blinders.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to have the ability to say, no. That, again, self-talk in a positive way. Don't listen to yourself. Talk to yourself.
Right.
Because the devil will put tremendously negative thoughts in your head, and just know that, no, I know who I am. This is what I really believe, and this is what I'm going to stick to. But also understand, you're going to fail.
Absolutely.
You are going to fail. And just because you have one bump in the road or one failure, no matter how many you've had, everybody has the ability to hit reset.
That's right.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep kicking the can down the road.
That's right. That's right. That's so good. Well, you have said a number of them in our interview already, and I learned so much. Just a little bit about that. So I had the opportunity to serve Coach Acuff as character coach at UAH men's basketball his last year with the team, and I just learned so much. I got to go to practice, got to ride on the bus. I got just to soak it all in, and I soaked up so many things that he was directing at his players and his coaches, but I was the ears, and I soaked them up too. And I call them Acuffisms. And so I learned a lot about basketball that year. I learned a ton about that. I'm a baseball guy. I learned a ton about basketball that year. And like one of them from a basketball perspective or direction was get your work done early. Right. I used to love you saying get your, and what you meant by that was, about their preparation, where their feet were, where their hands were. I mean, just everything mechanical to get ready to shoot. But I took it like, man, that's what I need to do in the morning. Like, get my work done early, get up early, get in the word, right? Get in prayer, like prepare myself so I'm not having to wait till midnight to repair myself. And so like get my work done early was something I started sharing with the guys about their personal life. Hey, just like in basketball, hey, it can apply to your personal life. And I would explain that a little bit. So there's a couple more that I remember. I'd love for you to expound on your meaning when you said them. And one of them is, you said the secret is there is no secret. I used to love when you would say that. So what do you mean by that?
Well, if I could go back real quick to get your work done early, I shared this with our team this summer. We have 5 new guys, and I just said, I have not found one person in all my years as a professional that are high achievers, highly successful, that don't start their day the right way.
Yeah.
The way I told him, I said, you should be unbelievably selfish in the morning. Like, you should say, this is my time. And now your morning can't be at 8 o'clock in the morning. Whatever time that you can do is whatever you need to do to get up early enough that it affects no one else but you. Then I'm going to get up as early as I need to get done what I need. If you're really, really selfish in the morning, you have a chance to be a lot more unselfish throughout the day.
That's
You
right.
have a lot more of your time to give to other people. You have a lot more time to invest in yourself or the people around you, whatever it is, but just be unbelievably selfish in the morning so you can be unselfish the rest of the day. And so I think just having the ability to be disciplined enough to say, I'm going to start my day the right way, because, oh, there's so many times I get my day off to a bad start or whatever it is. And I just feel like I'm chasing my tail all day. And then what that does, it stumbles into the next day, and you just get on this hamster wheel you can't get off of.
Yeah,
And
you're
so for me,
behind it. You're just always behind the eight ball.
yeah, the secret is there's no secret. I think we all look, again, kind of going back to instant gratification, we all look for this magic potion. Like, what is the miracle dust? When you see all this stuff on TV about, do this in 20 days, you're like a different human being. That's not real. That's not
That's
real.
not,
And the secret is there is no secret. You just have to put in the work. And then also, as you put in the work, you also have to understand that it's not going to go exactly the way you want it to go. How many times in your life, well, that ended up exactly the way I wanted? It doesn't happen.
mm,
And so our travels are going to take us in different areas, but there are also areas that we can grow. And so at the end of the day, that gives us a chance to be the best version of who we are when we get there.
yeah. I want to go back again to what you said about being selfish in the morning so you can be unselfish in the rest of the day. That's one thing I learned about it 2 years ago is you and I value unselfishness, selflessness. I think we really value selflessness. And I would try to be very selfless, but what I realized in being selfless. So if somebody called me, hey, can we have breakfast at 7 a.m.? Yeah. What about, 7:45? Yeah. What I realized I was compromising my time in the word, my time in prayer, the amount of time I wanted to spend. And so what I started doing is I put a boundary in place that I don't accept any breakfast meetings before 8 o'clock because I get up at 6. So I want to have that time and I guard it. I guard that time. And even it's a philosophy of mine, or it's a boundary I put, but I don't even allow anything on my calendar before 8. Now, obviously there's always exceptions, but that's what I've done to protect that time, to be selfish in the morning so I can be selfless in the afternoon or throughout the day. So sometimes
Can I?
you got to put hard things in place, right?
Yeah, that is so good, because what lesson I've learned is no is not a bad word.
No.
No is not a bad word. You just have to protect. There's certain, like you say, boundaries. You have to say, like, this, that doesn't work for me, and I am sorry. I remember when I went to Huntsville, I was trying so hard to get the program going and interest. And I remember like a T-ball team, Mountain Harvest, asked me to come speak on a Saturday night to their end of the year banquet. And I gave up my whole weekend almost trying to make that work for about 7 people that I will never see again the rest of my life. And it's not that they're not important.
Right.
It's just like that was, I needed to say no to that.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been bad if I said no. And I think something you said too, I think is important, Taylor, is what you're doing when you say, like, look, I wish I could do this, but it's not gonna work. You're being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay. You're saying, I just can't be all things to all people. And I believe this strongly. When you see truly successful people, there's a large sect that will admire them, which is good. I mean, that's fine. That you're successful. I have admiration for you. But if you really want people to truly gravitate to you, be vulnerable
Yes.
and just say, you know what? I'm screwed up too.
That's right.
And we all are. I tell our players, the first meeting they got here this summer, I said, look, I think I always hear this stuff, well, we're a family and all this stuff. I said, we're not a family. We just met each other.
That's right.
We're not. That we're not. I mean, all that sounds great. 1, 2, 3 family. Well, would you even know? I said, any idea how many brothers or sisters they have?
Right.
No idea. Do you have any idea where he's from or what is? No. Then you're not a family. But through us spending time together, that can happen. And I said, guys, here's the thing. When you can be vulnerable in here, that's when there comes depth. And I said, because I promise you, every family we come from has got their stuff here. Every kid that shows up here on our campus has a suitcase, and it's not just clothes. And it's their past experiences, and every one of them have a suitcase. And helping them to understand how to unpack that, helping them understand how to deal with certain things. Like that needs to be gone. I haven't wore that in 3 years. It needs to go. But man, that part of my suitcase I need to hang on to.
Yeah.
Like, man, that was a good time in my life, but there was a reason it was good. And so just being able to be vulnerable, I think, is very, very important. I try really hard to be honest with my team. Like when I screw up, I try to own it. I do. I'm like, hey, you know what? That one is totally on me. Sometimes in the short term, we change defenses and we give up a dunk. That's on me. Like, hey, move on. That's on me. I make a bad play, call out a timeout. That's on me. But I do think there comes a time too, because I am vulnerable. I think there's a level of trust and maybe they feel a little bit more safe.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. 2 minutes right there was, if you just took nothing else from this interview today, take that with you. It will bear fruit in your life. I promise you it will bear fruit in your life. So there's another one that's very similar. So it's kind of interesting around that. So another thing that you would say a lot was, you can't outrun reality. Hey, you can't outrun reality. And so what did you mean when you would tell the team or individuals in your office, or what would you mean by that?
Well, I think that, again, kind of going back to being willing to put in the work and put in the time and embracing hard. You just have to embrace hard things in life because it's going to be hard. Life is hard. And the reality is, if you're not making good decisions on a consistent basis, if you're not willing to do things other people aren't willing to do, at some point reality is going to hit. You just can't outrun it. And, I used to tell guys this all the time. They don't see us when we're falling. People don't see us when they fall. They definitely see us when we hit.
Ooh.
It's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Well, he'd been falling, or she had been falling for a long time. At some point, though, there is reality. And if you keep putting those same things in your life over and over and over again, you will meet your reality. But the same way it can be good. I do believe we serve a good and faithful God that truly wants our very best. Yeah. And I do think he blesses positive decisions, people that are obedient to him, that I think there's blessing there. And I don't want anybody to think that, because I know there are a lot of really, really bad things that happen to incredibly strong people and really good people. Sure. But I just think at the end of the day, we usually define our reality by our actions, our decisions, and our values.
That's right. Thanks for sharing that. So let's look in the future a little bit. What are some ideas? And you get, like I say, you still got some more tread. I promise you got more tread on those tires. What are some of your aspirations that you want to do once you hang up the whistle? What are some things that you're interested, some desires?
Yeah, I would like to coach longer. I don't know how much longer. I don't think it's not going to be 10 years. I don't think. The Lord may have different plans, but I hope not. And I don't know if that's even realistic. But I promise you, what I do want to do every single day is I want to have a purpose. I want to get up with a purpose, and I want to get up with the opportunity to help people. That's what I would really like to do. Like what you do so much with Season Builder, and like you said, serve us at UAH. Like your blessing, your example of service is incredible. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and I do. And I would love to find someone that I could help, or a lot of people I could help, and tell people I'll go be the best volunteer middle school assistant basketball coach I can be. But if it helps people, that's what I want to do. I want to make sure too that I run that ground ball all the way out. Like I don't want to die in the middle. I have no interest in dying in the middle. I want to still have a life that I feel like I have a chance to be impactful. But I think I was on a podcast the other day, and they said, "What's the best investment you've ever made as a coach?" And I said, "I'm gonna talk just as a basketball coach. The relationships within there are the most important to me, whether it's my former players, coaches, or coaches I've met in the profession." I said, "But as a person, if somebody that wants to do this for a long time," I said, "the first thing you better invest in is your faith."
Yes.
I don't know how you do it without it, because there are many, many times in this profession it will bring you to your knees, because there's so many things out of your control.
Yeah.
That you have no control over, that affect you. But then the second thing, and a very, very close second, is you better invest in your family.
Yeah.
Because it is a one-shot deal. It is a one-shot deal. And if anybody that's ever gone through a tough time in their family, when you walk out of that door every day, that world is tough. It is tough. Boy, your home sure needs to be your refuge. It needs to be the one place when you walk in that you're like, you know what, there is sanity in this world. And I am loved unconditionally. And you know what, I'm going to be able to get through it because of the people in this house. And or this home. And there's a difference in having a house and a home. And so I think don't ever underestimate how important it is to say, you know what, I am not missing my kids' games this week. I am not missing this. So it's awesome what we do to spend time with other people's kids. But I did a lot of things. I screwed a lot of things up as a parent, and I still do, even though my two children are grown now, or somewhat grown. They think they're a lot more grown than they are. But the one thing I know is my wife Kelly and I were there. And we did not make that mistake. And if the only time I ever missed anything my kids were doing that I should have been at is we had a game. That's it. I'd move practice. I'd do whatever. I wouldn't go to practice because this is not a dress rehearsal. You get one shot at it. One shot. There's no do-overs. It's your marriage. It's your children. Now, that doesn't mean everybody doesn't make mistakes and everybody goes through tough times, but it's time to hit reset.
Right.
We got to hit reset here. We got to reprioritize.
I remember. So even when you had a game, I remember your son Will played baseball at UAH where you were coaching, and I remember they had a game. It was one of those early, February games. It's kind of in the end of the season, but they would stream them all night. So I had the phone over there, kind of in the little corridor thing. You were giving the pep talk, pre-game talk. I'm watching the game, kind of giving some updates about. So you're about to coach a big conference game, but we got Will. We're hanging on every strike, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Every swing.
Every single. And then if you said those eyes, oh my gosh, that probably wasn't good. I remember checking my phone at halftime of games if they were playing somewhere, and but you know what? I wouldn't do it any different. We and Molly have both been real blessings, and we have great memories. But also, you know what? There were a lot of tough times too, and there's great opportunity for life lessons there.
Yeah.
And I promise you, I think I've saw both of them grow up more when things weren't going their way. And I think that's a great thing about athletics is it can teach you a lot of life lessons with a lot less expensive consequences.
That's right. That's right. Well, man, Coach, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for the wisdom you shared. I can't wait to share this to so many people, and just you mean so much to me. I'm sorry that we can't see as much of each other as I would like to. Us being a little bit apart, but I'm ready to rendezvous again at Waffle House if you are before this season gets started.
I'm always good for that, Taylor. And I do want to take a minute. Just first off, thank you for having me, and just know this as we talk. Two things. The first thing is everything I'm saying, like I don't have it figured out. I'm just kind of telling you the things that tell people when they ask me about speaking in the clinic, I said, do you want the things I did well, or do you want the 30-minute things I did well in the 2.5-hour clinic I screwed up? I don't have all the answers. Yeah. But so I please don't. I hope no one thinks that I do. I think I do, because I sure don't. I know I don't. And then the other thing is what you're doing for so many people, what Season Builder how impactful it can be. I mean, obviously in the spirit of confidentiality, I would never share specifics because you and I both know that's the reason it's confidential. But you impacted so many people's lives. I could give 3 or 4 examples of just like God used you in such a powerful, powerful way. And this Season Builder program that you put together, what you can do for young people, parents, they should be flooding to get their child around you. And I know there was at least 1 or 2 different times you were intentional with my children, and I will never, ever, ever forget that. Because I mean, like, just to know that my son or daughter is listening to you, that is a blessing I could never thank you enough for. But so whoever's listening to this and it's like, I don't know enough about Season Builder, you need to find out. And you need to invest in having Taylor around your team, having Taylor around your child, because I promise you, you will never, ever, ever regret that. It will be the best investment you make. I promise.
Wow. Wow. I'm so honored by that, Coach. Thank you so much. And humbled by it, and just my time that I got to spend with Will. We got to spend some intentional time together. It was awesome, and just reminds me of something that if you want to communicate that you love someone, go love the people that they love. That's just something that I've learned. I think it's good. It's right. It's an effective way, and you don't do it because of what it produces. That's how if you want to learn how to love somebody, go love the people that they love. And so I certainly have.
Well, what a good word, Ted. That's going in my notes right after this.
Okay.
Hey, man, that is a good one, brother. Hey, there you go.
Great. Well, hey, thank you everybody for listening to the Coach Edge Show today. Please check out the Coach Edge app, other podcasts. Dan Carlson, Deputy Director of Athletics at UAB, incredible story of overcoming paralysis through competitiveness. Incredible. Kobe Francis battling for a spot with the Minnesota Vikings right now. A lot of good episodes there that you can glean some good wisdom from and encouragement from. But until next time, Coach Acuff, thank you so much for being on Coach Edge Show.
Great day to have a great day, Tyler.
Amen.